Everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards here, and today I'm going to do a video where I'm going to do a shout out and show off 4 cards from my collection. 3 of them are newer pickups. The shout out I'm doing first though is for Chris at All Time Sports Cards. Now Chris has a really great channel. He's newer to the community as far as at least making content goes. He started making his videos in response to the Mangini challenge about showing off beautiful cards in your collection. And Chris really has an excellent collection. His first video really showed off, some of the great cards that he has. And then since then, he showed off some packs, a 71 Topps baseball set, 87 Flair basketball, Star basketball. And I think he has a great channel. He has 35 subscribers right now. I encourage you to check his channel out. I'll put a link down below. Chances are you haven't seen it. So give it a look, and if you like it, please consider subscribing. So now I'm going to go to the cards. First card I'm going to show today is this 1935 Diamond Stars Rogers Hornsby. And this is him on the St. Louis Browns. And this is really one of my favorite cards of his, of the ones that I looked at when I considered buying it, mainly because it has on his chest there the St. Louis lettering on it, and the Gaudy cards didn't have the lettering on it. If you see the one where he's standing out of the dugout pointing his finger in the 33 Gaudy set, there's no lettering on it. It's just a plain jersey, and the real picture of it actually had the lettering on it, but when Gaudy printed the cards, they did not include the lettering on the uniform. So I really like that on the Diamond Stars they did that, and just a really nice depiction of Rogers Hornsby. And here you can see he's a little long in the waistband, getting heavier here towards the end of his career. Pudgier little face there. And you can see the spectators in the background in the attire of the day. The men have fedoras on. The Art Deco lines there with the steps of the stadium. And you can see him just casually leaning, maybe like right along the fence there by the dugout. He was the player manager at that time. He was released by the Cardinals in 1933 and picked up by the St. Louis Browns. Played sparingly for the Browns, again, was mainly their manager. Didn't really have a great record with them. The Browns were a team that just was lacking talent. They're in the process of selling their team at the time. And it was bought by Donald Lee Barnes. And it was eventually Barnes who fired Hornsby in 1937. There's a couple different accounts of that. One account is that he was gambling on horses during the game, and another account said that he won $35,000 at the horse races, which is over $630,000 today, quite a sum of money. And he owed Barnes $4,000, and he went to pay him, but Barnes refused to take the money, and because it was from gambling. And Hornsby replied that you seem to have no issue taking money from loan shark business, and he says it's better to take money from gambling than money with interest from widows and orphans. And he was relieved of his managerial duties days after that. So those are the 2 accounts. The latter account was from his biographer. So what's nice about these Diamond Stars cards I talked about before, you can tell it's a 35 because on the back it has a 1934 batting average of 304. So if you see the 34, that tells you it's a 35. If it was 33, it'd be a 34. And the 35s, I believe, had the green and the blue ink on the back. I think it was the lower numbers that had the green ink. And back here it gives you just some tips on batting. And then you can see here, it says the only time that Hornsby was ever beaned was when he turned to talk to the catcher just as the ball was delivered. And it says, watch the ball from the time the pitcher starts his arm motion. So good advice, I guess, if you're an up-and-coming batter. So that's the Rogers Hornsby, and I gave some things on his later career here. I mean, I think everybody that knows of him knows that he had a 358 career batting average, won 2 Triple Crowns, hit over 403 times, including 424, which is just incredible when you think about it. But after he was fired, he still played baseball in the minors, didn't play in the majors after that, and just kicked around, played in the Mexican League some. He needed the money because he was a chronic gambler, is my understanding. Didn't drink, smoke, and things like that, but he really liked the horse races especially. Then he became a manager in the 1950s and then was out of baseball after that. So that's the Rajah, Rogers Hornsby. Now moving on to the hot dog of the group, Rickey Henderson. And Ricky'd be the first to tell you it was a hot dog, and he would tell you that because, you know, he knew he was good, and he could back it up. Just a excellent hitter, superb base runner, and he was really a plate-to-plate player. You know, he could hit the ball, and then he would be exciting all the way till he crossed the plate. And just, you know, fun guy to watch during that time. Really enjoyed him. You see him here depicted in his Yankees uniform. Just a nice shot there with the wood border. And I know these are mass-produced cards, but this is the Topps Tiffany, which is more limited quantity. I believe right around 30,000. You can see on the back here the bright back, which depicts the Tiffany, and then it's also got the glossy front, which I've mentioned in other videos when I've shown off the Tiffany cards. But Ricky definitely would be a guy, like I said, that tell you he was a hot dog, and Ricky, I think, would say he liked to use his name in the third person. He would say Ricky could back it up, so I believe he definitely would like that depiction. So we go from the hot dog over here to the Hanburger, Chris Hanburger, 73 Topps. Really excited about getting this card. I've been, you know, wanting cards that really depict who that player was, and this 73 Topps does that. Looks like here that he's coming out in the beginning of the game with the players. You can see everybody shaking hands in that, and he seems to be the focal point of the card. He was the captain of that defense. George Allen was the coach at the time, and he considered Hanburger to be his quarterback of that defense. And you can see here the players are kind of rallying around him as they're coming on the field. You got the marching band in the background with the American flag, and the marching band was very common in football stadiums at that time. And you still see them some to this day, but you would even see marching bands all the way up through the Super Bowl. They would do marching bands, and that was really into the 70s and probably into the early 80s. And then later on, in the late 80s, 90s, they started putting the big acts in play. But this is really a nice time capsule here of football from that era, and you know, the camaraderie there. You can see the hands being shaken, Hanburger clapping. Just a fun card to look at. And Chris Hanburger was a right linebacker. He was a 4-time All-Pro and a 9-time Pro Bowler, and just a really great player. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he was known as the hangman because what he would do is when he'd go for the quarterbacks or the ball carriers, he'd tackle them up high, right around the neck or shoulders areas, and wrap those arms right around them and just pull them right down. So he was really very much an arm tackler for that era, and really a form of tackling you don't see as much today. But that was what he was noted for. He had great sense for the ball, had quite a few interceptions in his career and fumble recoveries. Just a great all-around linebacker, and certainly a deserved Hall of Famer. And this just goes to show you can get fun and interesting cards, and you don't have to break the bank to get them. This card here is probably a $5 or $6 card. I picked it up for in a pack with some others. And this was really one of the main ones I wanted to get in that group because I just love this card, and I love that it captures his leadership. So now last but not least is this 51 Bowman Clyde Bulldog Turner. And I would consider this card, as you'll see in the title of the video about should the NFL, have a player logo, this would be the one in my opinion, because you have this great-looking vintage shot of Bulldog Turner playing center and getting ready to hike the ball. Nice posed image, and this would look great in a logo because, I know it's more of a passing game nowadays, but you got to hike the ball, whether you're running, passing. This is where it all starts in football, is right here with the center having his hand on the ball. So I think this would be really a fabulous logo. Just captures the history of the NFL very well. And then 51 Bowman's just a beautiful set. You can see that giant bear there. Love these cards. Have been picking up more and more of them. I built the 18 key cards, which were the best cards in the set. Now I'm branching out and buying some other ones. Just see the nice greenery in the background, the field. And just flip it over here. It's got a little bit of wax staining on the back, but not uncommon for Bowmans. It's just how they were back then. And he was a center and a linebacker in the NFL, and really an all-pro center. He led the league in interceptions as a linebacker with 8 in 1942. He played from 1940 to 1952, winning 4 NFL championships. And what's really neat about him, too, is he was about 6'1", 237 pounds, which was pretty good-sized guy from that time. And the coach of the Bears, the legendary George Halas, had said that he was one of the finest players he ever coached, one of the smartest, and that he knew you were going to get everything out of Bulldog Turner in every game. He knew all the assignments for the players on the team, as well as who they're going up against, and he just really understood the flow of the game, and he had great technique to the point where a lot of the people he were playing against on the opposition would come off the field thinking that he was holding them, but he just had such great technique that they really couldn't do much against him. So really just one of the great players of that era, 1940s all NFL team, multiple-time Pro Bowler, and 7-time first-team All-Pro as well. So really happy to have this one, and just give me your thoughts on that. I think this would be such a sharp logo for the NFL if they did like the white silhouette there like they do in baseball and basketball. Really, really cool card. So that's all I have today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and just looking at these 4 great cards, and check out All Time Sports, and talk to you soon.